What's up, everybody? Welcome to junior high. We are so excited that you're participating today in our interactive family experience. My name is Pastor Ethan, and thanks for joining today with your family. Does anyone know what day it is today? Anyone? Okay, yes, it is Sunday. But anything special about today? Yes, it is Valentine's Day. Now, if I can be honest with you, I've never been a big fan of Valentine's Day, and I'll tell you why. You see, every year on Valentine's Day, my school would go all out. Decorations everywhere, all of my classmates would write Valentine's Day cards, everyone would walk around blushing because it just exaggerated the awkwardness when you walked by your crush. And so, what would typically happen at my school is after our lunch break, we'd come into our classroom and everyone would have snuck Valentine's Day cards into the classroom during lunch, and they actually placed them on top of our desks. I think this is the main reason why I didn't like this day. You see, some people had stacks and stacks of Valentine's Day cards. You know, usually the popular people, the best athlete, the prettiest girl, or the most handsome boy. And it kind of was just like a popularity contest. Maybe I would have enjoyed it a little bit more if I found stacks on my desk, stacks of cards on my desk, but usually there was only like one or two. One would be from my teacher because she wrote every student one so that they would at least get one card that day. And the other card would usually be from my best friend, and he would write a card and pretend that it was from someone else in the class. So it was like a day that reminded me that I wasn't popular, and my teacher and my best friend felt bad for me, and out of their pity, they wrote me a card. Maybe that hasn't been your experience with Valentine's Day. Maybe it has. But at least today isn't a school day where you've got a pile of cards on your desk or lack of to remind you of your rank in your class. And ultimately, a pile of cards means nothing in terms of who we are or whose we are, but it was a rough day back in grade school. All right, maybe today you're gonna bake a heart-shaped cake with the family. Maybe you'll eat lots of heart-shaped candy or chocolate. Or maybe your parents are gonna kind of ship you off to your grandparents so they can have a date night. But whatever happens in your house today, I hope you enjoy it. I hope that you're reminded that it's important to show our love and appreciation to those around us. Okay, let me quickly tell you what you can expect for today. We are gonna have some family competition. We're gonna continue in our new series called Awkward. And then all throughout our teaching video today, we are gonna pause for some discussion time. Now, parents, today you are gonna lead your student in a few different activities and discussions. And those activities can be found and downloaded from an email I sent out this past week. If you didn't get that email, make sure you let me know so we can add you to our mailing list. The best way to do these interactive experiences is leading those activities and discussions with your student. In fact, we say this every week. It's the entire reason why we do this, so that you can have a clearer window into the spiritual development of your student and to create a space where you're helping them grow into everything that God created them to be. So, if you need to pause the video, and if you need to go and download those activity pages, please do so now. We're about to get into our series, but before we do, we want to hear from you. We want to stay connected to you and check in, so we've got something called a connection card where we can do that. The connection card is found right on the main page of the LakePoint app, and so we would love if you would take the next minute and fill out the card. It's basically like signing our guest book and letting us know you were here. So let's fill out the card together. Thanks for completing the connection card and signing our guest book. Now, every week here at junior high, we have some friendly family competition. And today, you and your family are gonna put your speed, your agility, and your reflexes on the line. All right, today's competition is called Line Tag. It's a simple game of tag, but with a twist. It's a game that's meant to be played with the entire family, and the bigger space you have to play, the better it will go. So maybe you want to move into the living room or down into the basement or even out in the backyard. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna tape down some lines on the floor if you're in the house, or make some lines in the snow if you're outside. The player who is it can only run along the designated lines. The players who aren't it, they have to run through the lines with speed, agility, and quick reflexes to avoid getting tagged by the player on the line. Want to make it even more difficult? Add a second person to be it. Then you have two people running up and down those lines. Make sure you take a photo of you and the family playing, and if you post that photo on our LakePoint Junior High Facebook group, or if you email it to me, we will enter you into a draw to win a $10 Tim Hortons gift card. All right, we are gonna switch gears and head into the teaching portion of junior high. Now, parents, if you haven't read my email that I sent out at the beginning of this series, or if you haven't downloaded the weekly discussion and parent guides, we launched a 4-week series called Awkward that's all about the attraction and desires of your student. So if you haven't read that email, it's not too late to pause this video and take a couple minutes to go and read it now. If you didn't receive it, check your junk mail folder or click the link right below this video. It is so important that you pause the video and read that email before continuing. If you don't, you are in for a real surprise. And it's not like this, really exciting surprise, birthday kind of surprise, or maybe your spouse surprised you today. It's gonna be super awkward, like what in the world just happened kind of surprise. So pause the video if you haven't read that email, or just click the link below me and it's gonna take you straight to it. Okay, now that you know what to expect, let's dive into week 3 of our series titled Awkward. Awkward. What a cringy word, right? Nobody likes to feel awkward. We don't enjoy finding ourselves in those cringy, uncomfortable, and embarrassing moments. But we also know that those parts are just part of life. All of a sudden, you're in grade 5, 6, 7, or grade 8, and your parents are asking you questions that are awkwardly personal. Teachers are telling you to stop talking to your crush in the middle of class. And then you come on Junior High Online only to find out that we are talking about sexual desires and attractions. Yeah, I know. Talking about this at junior high can definitely be awkward, but honestly, it's just too important to ignore. That's why today, no matter how awkward it might get, we're gonna continue a conversation we've been having about why our desires matter, and not just to us, but also to God. And speaking of things that matter a lot, let me share with you something that mattered to me more than anything else when I was in my later years of elementary school. I loved collecting toy cars, toy trucks, and toy tractors. My grandpa collected them, my dad collected them, my brothers collected them, and so I got really passionate about collecting them too. Some of them were valuable. Some of them were just toys that I liked. Some of them were farm equipment that my grandpa had, and so I thought it was pretty cool to have a toy version of that. Collecting toys mattered to me more than anything else for probably my entire childhood up to grade 8 or 9. We all value different things, right? But I think there's one thing that's true for all of us when it comes to the things we value. We tend to value things because of what they give back to us. Maybe it's a new pair of shoes that keep us looking fresh, or a new camera to make your YouTube videos more professional. Sure, those aren't the only reasons why we value things, but it's certainly part of it. But when those things stop giving us what we want, well, just like that, we sort of stop giving them the same value. We begin to treat them like they matter less than they used to. Remember my most prized possessions, my toy collection? Well, it just doesn't hold the same value to me now that it once did. I realized the amount of money I was spending on buying toys. I realized that maybe I should start saving that money for things that actually mattered, like clothes or textbooks or field trips or for a car when I got my driver's license. I want you to think about something that mattered to you when you were younger. And on the count of 3, I actually want you to yell it out as loud as you can. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. See, that thing you just yelled out probably mattered a ton to you a few years ago, but now that you're older, it just doesn't bring the same value to your life anymore. Now, when this happens with stuff, it's not really that big of a deal. When you stop caring about your old stuffed animals or your baseball collection or that jacket that you loved so much as a kid, that's just part of growing up. But there's another side to this whole value thing I want to talk about today, and that's the human side. Sometimes, without realizing it, we treat the people in our lives the same way. When they can do something for us or give something back to us, we consider them valuable or important. But what about when they don't? Well, that's when we begin to treat them like they've lost their importance. That's when we start treating people in ways that are less than they deserve. We start saying things about them, thinking things about them, or treating them as though they aren't all that special or important after all. Now, I know we might not all be doing this, or some of us might not even be aware that we're doing this. But it's important to talk about because it's a big deal, especially when it comes to things like our attractions and desires. Some of you might not be interested in dating right now, or maybe you're not even allowed to date. Still, I want you to stick with me because this stuff is important not just for today, but for when dating might be a part of your life. You see, the way we treat the people we're interested in or the people we spend time with matters. The way we value them with our words and actions and our thoughts, it's important. We might be tempted to talk about the people we're attracted to in ways that aren't valuing them. We may say things about their appearances and their personalities that aren't all that respectful. Or we might even think about them in ways that don't value them. They're the kinds of thoughts that we definitely don't want them or really anyone to know about. Maybe we even ask that person we're talking to send pictures or participate in behaviors that we know don't show them the value they deserve. We might treat the person we're attracted to in a way that makes us feel good, even if we know it's hurtful or harmful to them. We flirt with them, we tease them, we talk to them in a way that doesn't benefit anybody but us. Maybe we flirt or say inappropriate things or lead someone on because it makes us feel good. Or maybe we pressure them into doing something that they don't want to do. But at the end of the day, we don't really care about how it makes the other person feel. And no matter how it happens, the truth is this: when we don't treat others like they have value, we wind up treating them like objects instead of people. Objects that might have meant a lot to us when we first caught feelings or started talking with them. Objects that now just don't seem to have the same value unless they're doing something that we want them to do. And so instead of seeing someone as who they are on the inside first, we might begin to see them as simply a body or a personality that was meant to give us whatever we want. And the fact that they have their own thoughts, desires, emotions, and hearts, well, maybe we just don't seem to notice or overly care. And here's what's important. I want you to catch this. Every one of us wants to be valued. I'd guess that deep down, all of us want to be seen as someone worthy of respect, someone who's valued for who they are, not what they can give to someone else. But if this is what we want for ourselves, shouldn't it also be what we want for others? And how do we start changing the way we treat people so that we're not only giving them value, but receiving it for ourselves as well? I think it's so important just to take a few minutes and make sure we know what God has to say about all of this. And so, first of all, we should know that God made each of us, and because of that, we are valuable. We have value simply because we are made by God. And beyond that, other people have value because they're also made by God. That right there, that's the foundation for how we treat other people and ourselves. We believe that we all have value simply because God made us and told us so. And that's amazing. That is such a good starting place. But even Jesus didn't stop there. You see, believing those two ideas is important, but the way we treat other people, because these ideas are true, may even be more important. About 2,000 years ago, Jesus was having a conversation with some really smart people. These were religious leaders and lawyers who had started to really dislike Jesus. You see, they thought that they were in charge of the people at the time. The people around them, they were supposed to listen to them, follow their rules, and obey God's laws just like they did. But then Jesus came along and started teaching the way to really follow the laws that God had given to his people. Jesus obeyed all of God's laws, but he did so in a way that was full of love. And these religious leaders, they didn't like it. In fact, they would often confront Jesus and try to get him to say something that they knew would go against God just to prove that he wasn't worth trusting. In the encounter we're going to look at today, a group of religious leaders had approached Jesus to debate, question, and try and catch him saying the wrong thing. Finally, one of them spoke up and said, "Okay, Jesus, what's the most important commandment that God has for all of us? What's the most important thing to him out of everything?" And to answer, Jesus said something they didn't expect. Something that I think can help change the way we treat everyone. His answer is in Mark chapter 12, verses 30 to 31. And this is what Jesus says. He says, "You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength." The second is equally important. He adds a second command. Love your neighbor as yourself. And then he says, no other commandment is greater than these. Jesus gave such an incredible answer here. And it's an answer he gave because I think he wanted to be clear about what matters most to God. To love God with every area of our lives and to treat people the way we want to be treated. You see, when Jesus used the word neighbor, he wasn't talking about our literal next door neighbor. He was actually referring to every other person around us. We share this planet with about 8 billion other people, and God wants us to know that he cares deeply about the way we treat every single one of them. In other words, God cares about the way we value other people. If we want to follow God's greatest command, then we have to start with value, not just for ourselves, but for others too. And this applies to our attractions and desires as well. You see, we have to start caring about and practicing sexual integrity. Remember, Sexual integrity is choosing to respond to sexual things we think, feel, and desire in a way that respects ourselves, others, and God. So we have to choose to love and respect ourselves first. Maybe that means saying no when we're asked to do something we don't feel comfortable with, or deciding not to watch that movie or look at that picture we know is inappropriate. Whatever that looks like for each of us, we have to start treating ourselves like we have the value that God says we do. And then we can do the same for others. We can stop using language that doesn't respect other people. We can stop pressuring them into behaviors they aren't comfortable with. We can stop talking about them in a way that doesn't value them when they're not around. We can treat other people with value because we know it's important to God. And if we honor Him or treat Him with the respect He deserves, we should live like this matters. Because how you treat others and yourself matters to God. So, what does this look like this week at school, or when you're joking with friends, or when you're gaming online, or when you're messaging your crush, or when you're tempted to make jokes, or participate in behaviors, or treat someone else a certain way just to get what we want in return? Well, the next time we find ourselves in that position, we can ask ourselves a couple questions. Number one, what would it look like for me to treat this person in a way that honors God? Maybe instead of joking about their body, you should be the person who speaks up to stop that conversation. Or instead of allowing your mind to wander in a direction that doesn't honor that person, you should remember that God made them to be loved, not used. Or instead of flirting, just to make yourself feel good, you should take the time to think about what that other person is feeling and make sure that they know their thoughts and feelings really matter to you. Or maybe it's choosing to stop crossing boundaries because you know they aren't the best for you or the other person. Whatever it might be for you, don't go another week without working towards treating other people in ways that honor God. So, question number one is, what would it look like for me to treat this person in a way that honors God? Question number two is, do I believe that I value to God? Do I believe that I value to others? Do I believe that I value myself? Now, for some of us, before we can treat others like they have value, we first have to believe that we can be treated well ourselves. So if you don't respect yourself and your body, it's going to be hard to value others or to know what it means to be valued by others. So if you aren't sure that you would confidently say yes to every part of this question, I want to challenge you to tell someone. Tell your favorite small group leader, a parent, a trusted adult that you need help discovering some of your own God-given value. This might just be the most important step you take to begin a life where you know that you have the value and can treat others like they have value too. Now, let me wrap things up today by speaking to some of you watching who might be struggling with this. You may feel like you don't have value because of the way someone else has treated you. You've had boundaries crossed and things happen that you didn't ask for or approve of. Maybe you've been hurt. Maybe you've been abused or worse. And because of that, you're struggling to see how anyone could value you. Maybe you're even struggling to value yourself. If that's you, please know this. You have value. And what happened to you doesn't take that away. Your small group leader or your parents or a trusted adult would be a great person to start a conversation with about this very idea. They love you, they value you, they want you to find the help you need. Now remember, how you treat others and yourself matters to God. When we learn to love, value, and respect ourselves, we'll do the same for others. Thanks everyone for participating today. Remember to head to Facebook and to post in our LakePoint Junior High group the photo of you and your family participating today. Once you do that, I'll enter you into a draw to win a Tim Hortons gift card. Now to wrap up today, take the next 2 minutes together, pray as a family, and then head to the LakePoint app to access our weekday devotionals that go along with our series. You'll find them in the Family Resources section, and you can also find that link in the video description right below me. Have a wonderful week, friends. We'll see you next week.